Hey, what's up, everybody? So recently, I had a cue that made air for the NCAA men's basketball championship between Purdue and Connecticut. And you guys know how we do. We'll take a listen to it and then we'll talk about it on the flip. All right, here we go. Okay, so there it is. It's called Heat Check. So a couple of the basics just to get out of the way. It is in G minor, modulates to A flat minor, as you heard. It's at 156 beats per minute. A couple of quick things. It's a sports cue. So as you heard, one thing we want to do, we want our intro to be super tight and super quick, somewhere, around just maybe 2 beats, maybe even a beat. Really just to get us right into the cue. The cue comes in with good energy right off the jump. This is not your typical cue for television, wherein you may start and then build, and of course, and then have a break and so on and so forth. This for sports, you want to come in out the gate with some energy, and then you see I do layer it up again before we do our breakdown, but just a couple of key things just to note as it is a sports cue. So let's get inside of it just a bit. So as I said, of course we want to start some type of quick, it could be a riser, it could be a fill or whatever. I happen to use a fill here, but just as a reminder, so we get into it very, very quickly. So 1, 2, da 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 da. So it's a two beat pickup to get us into the cue. Obviously, as I've talked about in the past, one thing that has to happen in these types of cues is your drums really need to be smacking. They doesn't have to be a ton of sounds. As you can see here, I'm not hardly using anything. I got a couple of loops, a 808 snare, some claps, a snare, a kick, and some tubular bells. I mean, that's really it. And then of course, when I'm trying in some of my transitional places, I think I bring in a tam-tam. And that's pretty much it for this particular cue. This is a little more hip hop leaning, if you will, than like the big orchestral hip hop type. But so let's just take a listen to the drums, and we'll listen to them with the tubes as well. So. So you hear, I mean, you know, it's not a real deep groove or anything like that, but it's just a tight, aggressive, you know, solid drum groove. One thing that I do, a lot of my one shots that I use for like my hip hop sets are for a company called I'm a Music Mogul. .com, and let's see if we open this up and I kind of scroll over here, you'll see you see that see it's from, I don't even know if you can read that, but from I'm a Music Mogul.com, and this is his beta kick from the beta kit, and it's just a kick from his beta kit, and I think I use the snare from the same kit, but it's a really cool library of sounds, and he sends you, like, every time he updates, he sends you the new updated kits and stuff. It's got a lot of cool stuff. It's got 808s, kicks, snares, rims, claps, all kinds of stuff. So definitely definitely check him out. So if we just take a listen to just the kick. All right, so that's my kick there. So you see nothing real deep on it. I have it high pass at 60 hertz. Only thing I have happening in that frequency range. And the other thing I like about this kick is it's got some knock to it. And then you hear just a little bit of that high end snap. And I think that's what kind of really helps the kick cut through. And then, of course, I also have it side chained with my bass as well. So if we take a look at the bass, I'll open up the compressor, and I'll also load the bass as well. But I'll open up the compressor, and as you guys can see here, it's just a standard Steinberg compressor, and then you activate or deactivate your side chaining here, and then here is where you set up your routing. And as you can see, my side chain input is my kick, you know, is my source. And basically what I'm trying to do is just get a little bit of gain reduction in my bass, in my 808, when my kick hits. So if we play it, we play them both. And you see we're getting about 3.5 dB of gain reduction in our bass every time our kick hits there. So that's it. And then you see, let's see, let's get back to the kick here. Whoops, no, we don't get there. Let's get back here. Yeah, to the source here, and then you see I have it set up post fader. So pretty much if I in this regard, if I move the fader, it will impact the amount of compression, you know, because it's gonna impact the amount of signal that's being sent. So just something, if you want to do it pre-fader, and then it won't matter if you move your faders, it won't impact the amount of signal that's being sent. So just a little note there. And then my like my snare, and let's take that out. So my snare, and I'm using more like of a rim sound. And as you can hear, that is very transient. I mean, it's really transient. Of course, you see why I have it high pass. But the other thing is I like using the CLA 2A, like on my snares and claps and things of that nature. So I do have it on the snare, and it just helps it cut through a little more. If I bypass, hear the difference? And you see, I mean, we're not even getting a dB of gain reduction. It's barely, I mean, it's really just the sound of the compression more so than anything. That's really dope. So I use that. I'm using it on my snare. I'm also using it on my claps as well. So I have the CLA 2A on my claps as well. So if I add my claps, super transient, very transient. You want those things to You really want those things to cut through. And of course, like I say, the CLA 2A just kind of helps us in that regard. And then I have like a 808 snare in there as well. And the only thing that I'm using on this is I'm using this Renaissance, and I think this is a Wave plugin, I believe. But just to help me, this helps the 808 cut through just a little more. You just hit it, if not much. I mean, you know. And I also use it sometimes on my short strings as well. So, and then we you know, we got a hi-hat loop, nothing real deep. Now this percussion loop, I'll show you guys this because what I did is, as you can see, this loop is actually at 125 beats per minute. So my Q is at 156. So one, I sped it up pretty drastically. But the other thing that, and you know, you can just warp it and sync it to speed it to the tempo that you have your Q set at. And of course, I'm using a sample track for that. So that's a sample track. But the other thing, what did I want to show you guys? Is how drastically I have it EQ'd. So I'm going to play it for you in its original state. So I'm going to bypass the EQ, right? Well, let me play it for you the way it sounds now, and then I'll play it for in its original state. So. So that's the way that I have it sounding in the Q. But the original sound of it is, let's go here. All right, let's bypass the EQ because it's EQ'd pretty drastically, and let's pull that off. And so you see, I mean, it's a major drastic difference. And it's just to say, like, you know, kind of hear the potential of, you know, a lot of things that you may use in terms of what you can do in terms of manipulating the tempo, manipulating, you know, the sound through EQ. It could be delay, you know, or whatever, just to kind of get the sound that you want. And then, you know, just a basic cymbal one shot, nothing deep. I mean, even that, not even that great a sound of cymbal, but it just happens to work for this. And then the tubular bells. Now, what I will say about the tubes, y'all, is a little tube goes a long way. So you don't need a whole bunch of it, and certainly, you know, like a quarter note at the top of the phrase is going to give you plenty. Because one thing about the tubular bells, they need time to decay as well. So, you know, just hit that thing, kind of reinforces your root. It kind of helps it give that, you know, that epic vibe a little bit just by adding the tubular bells. So again, all the drums. Oops. And I don't know if you guys heard that, but I heard that. And I forgot to turn my EQ back on. There we go. There it is. So cool. There it is, drums, you know, cut and dry, pretty simple. But just kind of rocks out pretty good for us. So then the next thing that we have is just our brass layers. I mean, very, very minimal. Here, I'm just doing a couple of one shots. So I got this Brahm here. I mean, nothing crazy. It's a one shot. I don't even remember what I got it from a friend of mine. So I don't really recall, or I can't like turn you on to the library or anything like that. And then here's another one. I know you say separately, man, these things sound a mess, right? But it's all about, you know, just what do you get when you combine everything. And sometimes I'll say this in my sports cues, I'll have those Brahms like really, but this I was kind of more. I don't know. I didn't want that real brahmy kind of thing. I wanted kind of the 808, and then I'll show you some. I got like a piano layered with that to be more of the nastiness of the cue with the drums as opposed to that real nasty brahmy sound. So I even have them down in the mix a good bit as well, but you still want that support there. So with all three. And I mean, that's really it. And like you say, you hear them kind of exposed, and you're like, well, I don't know if they really work. But if I add it with the 808 and my pianos, then and it works. So that's pretty much it for the brass. It's just in the second half. Of the theme, I add just a simple horn counterline. That's it. Nothing real deep about that. But I do want to show you. So this the pianos that I have layered. So I have this, and it's Keyscape. So it's a Keyscape LA Custom C7 Grand Rock. And I chose that rock piano because I just wanted that kind of, grit, and aggressiveness to the piano sound. So, and I typically, let me move this over for you. I take out my pedal noise and most of the real noise as well. But just and then I found this one shot that I liked. And that delay is baked into it if you put those two together. Right? And then we add our 808. And I don't know which 808 this is, but let's see. Yeah, so it's called Narcos. It's Sublab. Just Narcos 808 and nothing real. Yeah, that's pretty much it there. And in terms of here, so I got that high pass at like 30. Sometimes, I mean, really you could do 40 or whatever, but I do 30. I want some of that whatever low end information is just kind of there at the bottom. I like it to kind of stay in there to really be solid, but I don't have anything else in that low. I don't have anything else, I don't think, below 60. Besides this 808. So just to kind of keep that bottom end nice and clean. So that's that. All right, next thing is, and let me change this name. Right. So next thing we have here, well, let me play the strings for you first. I'm going to play, so we got this one string ostinato going on here. So pretty much the violin 1, violin 2, and viola are kind of playing this together. And then I have like the cellos doing a little counter against, what they're doing. And then I have this Halion beefy synth that kind of supports that. And if you hear, I have a little delay going on, a little stereo delay happening with the synth, and it's the Halion, and it's a beefy synth, is the name of it, that I'm using, and it sounds like. So you see, in terms of, so you see we got a pretty long feedback on the whole note, and then the half note, our feedback is not as long. And our feedback just determines how long you're going to hear that delay carry through. So that's it, and it's just really to, create a little more interest, kind of in the inner workings, of the cue, if you will. So, but it's just really mirroring exactly what those strings are doing. But then what I do is I add so let's go back to the strings. So quickly, so they're just cinematic studio strings, and they're broken out in sections: first, second, violins, viola, and cellos, right? And staccatissimo. And then what I use a full cinematic studio for full ensemble as well, with violins, violas, and the cellos, and that's staccatissimo as well. And I'm playing a different playing a different thing there, and let me play that for you. And that's just to give it some dimension and to give it some movement. We need something kind of riding over the top of everything that's happening. So if we put all those strings together, right? And we put that synth in there, we get this. And as you can see, as we get into this second section, right, as we start to just try to build some intensity, I told you about the horn ensemble counter with the horn. And then the only other thing is we layer an octave up in our strings just to add a little more dimension to it, right? And the only other thing we got, I actually got some haze going on there. I will say this: the haze are really, really soft, because this is an instrumental cue, but I wanted something in there just to give it a little additional energies. It's a sports cue, but I didn't want them to be overbearing, because one thing I didn't want to happen, and I could have given a version with the haze loud and a version without the haze, but I didn't want it to like the haze to be a distraction to, like, if the announcer's talking or something like that and they got these haze popping out, or whatever. So they're pretty low, but I think they still add something, and it's just, that's it. And then a little, little ear candy, risers or whatever. Just little simple stuff. And that's it. So if I think we've covered, the only other thing that we have is when we're in this second section, when we're in the section of the cue, going out into our break, I add some string runs just to get us into the breakdown. So I'm gonna just play the very end so you can hear the string runs. So I don't know, maybe it makes it a little more interesting, I don't know, but I like using string runs. So anyway, and it's just real simple. It's a 2-beat run, so you got there, and then the viola cellos, and that's it. And we are using the colors adaptive runs, and as you said, see 2 beats, and they're going up, and it's a minor scale. Pretty straightforward and pretty simple. All right, so we come out of our first 2 sections. So you got your first section, you build with some layering on your second section. Of course, we got a transitional element with our riser right here that gets us into our breakdown. Now, so we get to our breakdown. Let's play that. So even though we break down, you notice that our drums are still like holding tight. Look at my drums. I didn't do anything here in terms of bringing back energy in my drums. I chose to bring back the energy. I took my Brahms out. I kept just my pulsy synth and strings in, but just the cellos. So I took out, and you see, I went from the da 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 da. So in terms of what a tempo is, those are eighth notes, da 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 da, and I went to quarter notes, da 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 da. So all that is the breakdown of energy, but we still got the drums hitting at the same level, right? So we broke it down, and then when we want to build the energy just a tad bit. So what I do is I add some of the Brahms back, and I add my low piano stabs back, and that's enough to give us a little more energy. So if we're coming from this breakdown, just notice how the energy just elevates just a bit. And you notice right there a nice, clean, tight edit point. If they happen to want to cut right there, bop, 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 boom, they could just cut right there. They could cut right there and then go to the button, if they wanted it, if they were trying to edit it for something. Now, and I've had that done in my cues before, where they've kind of, done some editing to make it fit, for what they had. Maybe it was, the cue is a little over 2 minutes, and the play was for like a minute and a half, and they did some editing. So it's always good to have some nice clean edit points. So we come out of here, and now we go into a bridge. And I will say this, typically in my sports cues, I don't typically go to a bridge where like the harmony changes and things of that nature. I might just break down layer, do things of that nature. But in this particular cue, the bridge worked. So I think I go to the 4. I'm in G minor, and I think I go to like C minor, kind of ride along C minor for a little bit, but it works. So we got a clean edit point. Now this is the first time I introduced my tam-tam, and the tam-tam just kind of swells us into that bridge really nice. And that's another transitional element with a couple of some kind of ear candy things that I got going on. Whoops, let me move that so you can see down here as well. So in terms of transitional elements, I have this, and I have this tam-tam, right? So coming out of our edit point. So that is the energy that takes us into the bridge. I will say this, like, really, I'll say this, don't discount the use of your transitional elements to get you, it just glues your whole cue together. So, you're going into your breakdown, there should be something, you're going into another section, there should be something that gets you there. That's the sort of the bridge to that next section. So don't discount those minor details. They really make a difference in making your cue sound more polished. Okay. All right. So let's get back to it. All right. So so going into the bridge, Now we'll play everything. So we get into the bridge, right? We have those transition, and pretty much all we have is a harmonic shift, like I said, to the 4. You see more sporadic in terms of what I'm doing with my bop, 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 bop. I'm not playing it all the way through now. I'm letting this section breathe a little bit, okay? So, but my drums are still popping. You know, I still got my, you know, low brass in. So my energy, my Brahms and stuff. So my energy is still there, and I shift melodically a little bit in my horn. So let's check that out. Okay, so a few things that I want to note. One, I want to note, so you see coming out of the bridge, I didn't immediately go back into, you know, the big section, just giving the cue some dimension. So we had the bridge, now we go to another breakdown, but this breakdown is much different than the first breakdown because this is a real breakdown. I mean, this kind of, you know, really breaks down. And then the other thing, I think the only other thing we want to show is like the additional like ear candy that we have, and it might be this thing here that I think that's what's happening. Just those little like teeny things just make a big difference in your cue. So just, you know, try to, you know, be creative and thinking about different things you can do there. So again, you see we broke the energy down and we got breaks and all that good stuff. And then, as I said, coming out of this, going into breakdown number 2. So now listen to how number 2 breaks down. And a big reason, I take my kick out. So now my kick is out in this one, wherein, you know, my kick was in the other one. I think my 808 snare might be a little simplified. I'm not really sure there. And then I'm just playing long tones in my 808, just the 808 though. And then, of course, just, you know, much lighter activity happening in my strings. So we get to breakdown 2. So you see how we also now set up that modulation, where the modulation made sense. It you know, we went somewhere. So we were kind of, you know, as the breakdown started, we started making sure that we were getting more energy into the end of the breakdown to get us to this next edit point. And then, you know, into another big tam-tam, right? And then I think I had some type of fill or something that happened somewhere, right? I thought I heard a fill in there, so let's see. Yeah, so you heard that, da-da-da-da-da. And that's nothing, but I found a one shot I think that I liked somewhere for that. And it's just a fill one shot. Yeah, so, you know, you find these things and, you know, you just kind of make them work or whatever. So that's that. And then we modulate and we're into A flat minor. But now we come in this section, right, with the energy as high as section 2 was in the first section in G minor. So we come in high energy, and then we gotta layer up that energy one more time before we get out of the cue. And then just to show you guys something in terms of at least in Cubase, like if you want to modulate, right, one thing you can do where you don't have to go in and just like change all your tracks or whatever is you just set up a transpose track, right? Like if you hit T, or whatever, and you just go and hit transpose, and that'll add a track. You add your transpose track, you know, where you want to start it at, and how long you want it to be, and then you just tell it here. You can see I had that one. That one is telling it to transpose by 1 semitone. So I transposed it by a semitone, and then you say, well, I see these things here. Well, what you can also do, so for like your drums, so if you'll see here, like if I click on this, right, and then you go up here, you see that this says independent in my global transpose window. So basically I'm telling this, I don't want my kick, I want my kick to be independent of anything that I'm telling the transpose to do. So my kick, my snare, my claps, you know, all that stuff, they're independent. So I don't have to worry about them because they're not melodic. I don't have to worry about them changing keys. So that's basically what's happening there. And I think I did my tubes later or something, so that was independent. I think I just played that in or something like that. But typically it'll say follow. So if you click on your thing and it says follow in the global transpose, then whatever you tell this to do here, that's what's going to happen to your melodic thing. And it'll happen to your non-melodic things if you don't tell them to be independent. And all you have to do is click on it, go up to global transpose, and you know, just say independent, and you'll be good to go. So there, so you see like my haze, I didn't want them to modulate or whatever, so I just told them to be independent. So anything that you want independent, that's basically what you do. So let's just play I'll say a little bit of the next to last section, and then you'll hear how it goes into the last section, layers up, and just builds into a nice button. So here we go. Okay, and there you have it, and let's get that delay muted. So pretty much, I mean, there you have it, guys. A real quick, I think, and simple, you know, look on the musical side of things in terms of what I did. So now what I'm going to do, just very quickly, I want to show you my screen over here for a couple of things. So my mix screen, and one, I just want to show you that I am using some parallel compression like on my drums. So if we play our drums, I want to show you this. So, and I'm going to get rid of myself as well. All right, so you can really see. Okay, so as you see, I'm just going to show you, I have this parallel compression set up. So basically what you do is you create an effects bus in Cubase, and then you load up your compressor. And in this particular regard, I'm using a SSL G master bus compressor. And pretty much what I'm trying to do here is get a whole bunch of compression, and then layer in that compressed signal with the regular signal. So you see, so it's getting a pretty good bit of compression, right? Almost 12 dB, of gain reduction right there. So it's compressed pretty drastically. And then what we do is, so let's play this, right? So you hear how that sounds. So that's the way it sounds. And then all we do is we kind of layer in that parallel compression to taste in terms of how much we want. And I think I was somewhere around there, around 14.7. And then the other thing that you will notice is that I have this set up pre-fader in terms of the sends. So I pretty much I set it up here, and then I just set up sends where I want to have the parallel compression. So, and you said it's pre-fader, so no matter what I do to this fader, the same amount of signal is going to hit the compressor. That will not change. So in this regard, it'll always be the same in terms of what you want there. And obviously I wanted my kick and stuff, a little more gain there than I wanted with like some of the other elements. So that's why you see the difference there. So yeah, another thing that you can do to just help your drums just hit a little more, smack a little more, is add a little parallel compression to your drums. So just another thing that I wanted to note for you there. And then, you can quickly kind of see how I have my stuff, bust out or whatever here. So, and I'm not using all of these particularly here, and I'll go in here, but you can just see. So one, you can see my reverbs. I mean, I got my brass verb, drum verb, strings, effects, and then of course my parallel compression. And that's so, you got a reverb on all your different instruments, and you're not stemming out something and then you got to, you're hearing another reverb from another instrument. And then I typically set up, brass low, brass high, and these, I'm not using my trumpet runs here, but if I had runs, percussion low, medium, to high, synth drums, sims, my bass, strings, low, short, high, short, long, low, and long, high. Then I got my effects. I used to have my parallel compression set up a different way. I don't do that anymore. And then, if you look at my mix bus, I got neutron, I got old tone on it. Tonal balance, insight, and span. Those are just tools, obviously that I use. In neutron, I pretty much just have, I don't know, I always, you see it says Jeff's high boost. I just always have me about a, dB or so of just a little high end that I like to just put on, my mixes or whatever. So, yeah, so that's pretty much it. So I did want to show you guys just a little bit of, my mix bus and stuff as well, so you can kind of see what's happening there. So I hope that this was helpful, to you. And again, just real life look at, a cue that, made air during the NCAA championship. So it's not, as you guys can see, it's not like rocket science or super deep, but there is a formula to it. There are certain things that you really kind of need to do sonically. It's going to need to sound a certain way to give yourself a chance, because it's a lot of music out there, guys. So we want to try to level up as best we can to make our cues sound as good as we can with the tools that we do have. So as always, I hope that this was helpful to you, and more so, I hope that it was an encouragement to you, to show you that if I can do it, you can do it too. So as always, thanks for checking me out. Peace and God bless.